The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18-plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Rob Shuter has been everywhere the last couple of days. Rosanna Scotto, Natasha Verma, Channel 5, other networks, because he is Mr. UK, and the King is still here and the Queen. They're in Virginia today. Rob Shuter, how are you, buddy? Welcome back.
Hello. We were a little rushed yesterday, weren't we? That Rosanna Scotto dragged me away from my first love, you, Sid.
Oh, I love you, too. That was, she has a lot of nerve, that Rosanna Scotto.
Rude.
I'm gonna go to Fresco today and start throwing dishes all around. How about that? I know you did a great job with her and Natasha, who loves you too. And let's get right to it. The King, I thought, was great when he spoke in front of Congress the day before in D.C., but yesterday he had the chance to come here. He went to the 9/11 sacred site. I know his wife ended up in Harlem. They had a great dinner last night. What were your impressions, Rob Shuter, of the King's Day, specifically here in New York City?
In New York City, I give him an A+. This is Charles at his best. This is the Queen at her best. This is the secret weapon of the British Empire. These two know how to do it. They know how to turn up. They know how to be chatty. They know how to be gracious. He's a funny guy. So I know people who work at the palace, and they say sometimes, and you see this with politicians, sometimes you see them on TV and they're a little stiff, not that funny, don't have that much personality. They said behind the scenes, Charles is a really good guy. He likes to laugh. He likes bawdy jokes. He was friends with Joan Rivers for decades. They were really close friends. And so I think we got to see a side of Charles on this trip that very few people outside the palace ever get to see. And it's a charming Charles. I hope we get to see it more.
Yeah, me too. And I told you this yesterday, the way he spoke about President Trump. They tried to kill him again. In D.C. 2 days ago, the way he talked about 9/11, we were with you then. He said, we're with you now. And a lot of politicians say a lot of stuff, but maybe he's got me fooled. But I really believe that King Charles, because his mom loved President Trump as well in this country, I really believe he's being sincere.
He is. I can tell you that. He absolutely is. I've been reading nonsense out there that he's not enjoying himself, that he's only here because the British government made him do it. Absolutely nonsense. The King has been having a ball. You can see it in his eyes and the way he speaks and the way he walks. This is a sick man. This is a man who still has cancer, is in his 70s, and he is having the time of his life. I saw them yesterday. I saw them downtown at the 9/11 memorial, and what dignified grace they had. Over 200 Brits were killed on that horrific day, 3,000 other beautiful souls, and it's really touching. They left not only flowers, they had a personal note. I saw the note. They wrote a little card, and they left that, and then they went about their day. She went to the library and read books to kids. He went up to Harlem where he fed the chickens, and then there was a big event late last night at Christie's. It was just a great day, and their special friendship with America is real. It's absolutely real. It is not fake. It is not about getting Americans to pay for stuff, or it's not about abusing American power or wealth. There's a genuine friendship there. And yes, one of the friends might be much more powerful, America. One of the friends might have a lot more money, America. But that's like you and me, Sid.
Yeah.
You're rich, you're powerful, but I love you.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's got more money between you and I. I did want to ask about Mike Bloomberg, because I don't know much about the King. But I did notice when I was watching the pregame ceremonies before they started the whole thing, that the guy that was standing next to King Charles most of the time and talking was Mike Bloomberg. Is there a friendship there? I don't know.
Yeah, they've known each other for a while, and because Bloomberg is such a business leader, he has lots of interest in Britain and around the world. And let's be honest here, somebody had to stand next to him, and the current mayor wasn't going to be the person to do that.
Right. Well, but it's funny you bring up. Yeah, I know you know how much I hate the mayor, and I use that word.
Hate the mayor.
I hate him. No, I hate his guts. I hate everything about this guy. I hate. And for this idiot, you got the king here, who was gracious enough to come down to that site where, again, you mentioned. I've said it 10 times the last couple of days. 3,000 beautiful souls perished just for going to work. And instead of talking about how happy he was the king was here and at this solemn site, he brings up a crown jewel. He says the king should give it back. By the way, there are 4 different countries, 4, India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iran, who all take claim to this crown jewel. Why would this moron, this mayor, bring that up as the one question he would ask King Charles? Now, thank God he didn't have a chance. There was no one-on-one with the idiot mayor and the king. But why would the mayor even bring that up?
Because he's throwing red meat to his base, and it's just so ungracious, and it's not the right moment. And ultimately, he did have a minute with the king. I saw him on the arrival line, and he was giddy. He was giggling. He bottled it. If you're going to say it like you mean it. Remember Wendy Williams used to say that? Have the balls to do it. He didn't. And it's such a wild, untrue claim, and it's nothing to do with the king. Is the mayor going to go to the Met Museum and send back all the Egyptian art and the Temple of Dandur? And, it's a very, very slippery slope that he's getting on. But just a moment that, it was not gracious. It was not a shining hour, but it didn't put a damper on this really magnificent day. I can't say it enough. I hit the phones this morning, Sid, and I spoke to people in Whitehall. That's like the British government. That's where the centre of government is in London. They're thrilled. I spoke to my mom. She's thrilled. The public is thrilled. Charles has been in the shadow of his magnificent mother for his whole life. How could you not be? Queen Elizabeth was one of the greats. And I think finally, after a few years, he's finally stepping out of that shadow. And yesterday we got to see him as a man, him as a king, not as the son to this wonderful queen.
True. And, again, you mentioned his mother. And William, of course, is in line to take over when that time comes. But the last time you were on, about a month ago, we were talking about the relationship between Harry and his father, Meghan. And there was some thought that when the king came to New York, that was going to be his reunion chance with his son, Harry. And then I found out like 3 days ago, right before he got here, that there was not going to be a reunion. And I guess the relationship between the king and his young son is still very strained.
It's worse than ever. So my reporting was about a month ago. The Team Sussex, the Sussex's people and the palace people, the king's people, we're talking. He's going to be here for 4 days. Harry and Meghan don't like President Trump. He doesn't like them. They didn't want to go to Washington. So there was plans to get them to New York. Harry and Meghan love New York. They're in New York quite a bit. And so the king, the queen were going to be in New York for the whole day. There was time on that schedule to carve out an hour to meet. And they really were discussing it. And then Harry and Meghan went to Australia. And they did this quasi-royal tour. For 4 days, they swanned around like royals. And on the 5th day, they made a lot of money. And this is exactly what the Queen did not want. She didn't want part-time royals. She said, you can't be a royal for 3 days and then make money on day 4. Can you imagine if after this visit, the king tried to sell us a pot of jam? It changes everything. It just changes what the visit is once you bring money into it. And so this really, really annoyed them. And then, just to stick it to his dad, when his dad was practically on the plane flying over the Atlantic Ocean, where did Harry go? The Ukraine. What are you doing there, Harry? God. Why are you in Ukraine? And then a final little dig on Friday on the cover of People magazine. Shame on People. It's not the king, it's Harry and Meghan. They ran to People magazine to do a story. They just are petty. And what the shining light is, though, the silver lining is, Nothing Harry and Meghan did in Australia or him in Ukraine can possibly compete to what we saw over the last state dinner, tea with the White House, with Melania and Mr. Trump, and then coming to New York. Let them be. Let them do their thing, and we'll do this, and you can see the difference.
Born on America's darkest day of 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been helping America's heroes ever since. Heroes like FDNY Lieutenant Edward J. McDonough Jr., a Marine Corps veteran and lifelong public servant. After 9/11, McDonough served at Ground Zero. He later lost his life to a related cancer, leaving behind his wife Kimberly and their 5 children. Tunnel to Towers honored his sacrifice by paying off the family's mortgage. Donate $11 monthly and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org today.